Well, kind of final step of the day. It's all in. I got everything back together. I still can't find my lower motor mounts, and I bought two brand new exhaust manifolds. I can't find them. I got a feeling that all my brackets and manifolds are in the same thing. I just put this cover on it. It's not got a gasket or anything. I just still don't even know if it'll fire, just to hold the starter. To check everything, let's see here. And turn over good. That's obviously the late model starter. The plugs are still in it, so it's got a lot of compression. But I put a new oil filter on it, and poured a couple quarts of oil in it just so to have some in the pump. Everything's doing what it's supposed to. Wheels turn. Everything's bolted up. I've just got a little bit more to find my parts, and then I can just get on road to finishing this. I still didn't get to paint my frame or anything, but I can still do that with it, with the motor in it. Basically, it looks real nice, and kind of a job well done. Another day of working on this thing, and I'll be ready to start it. Next day, next chapter in my screw-ups, I looked at all of these motor mounts. You know, I said I bought some more, plus I had some in the old motor, and this motor had some in it. And I looked at them, they all looked like they were the same. I tried to pick the best ones. Turned out they're not the same. Now this is a motor mount bolt here. Supposed to go in there. I couldn't get it in. I thought, well, you know, must be the wrong bolt. And I started looking for brackets over here for this. Turned out that was a cross member. Anyway, I finally got it sorted out this morning, and it turns out that these are not the same. I don't know if you can see there in the camera, but it's obviously a different mount. See the bolt go into it fine. It's probably not a good idea. It's on a jack pulling this thing out. And I put this one in. And presto, the motor mount will work. So, out of the 6 or 8 bushings here that it has, I wound up putting the wrong ones in both sides at the back. Now this one I just did. It obviously came out. I don't know what the other side's gonna look like. I go there and take a look at it right now. Yeah, it's still in the frame, and I can tell that's the wrong size hole on it. So I put my strap back on it, took all my motor mounts out again. This one might be some kind of a problem because it's got this U-joint and shaft and stuff in here. I'm just trying to pull it out of the way and look, and it looks like it's really all the way up to the top. So I think the solution is to let that down over there and move the jack over to this side of the motor and see if I can't twist and rotate it a little bit. I did stick the coils and everything, hooked them back up, and trying to see if it would fire. It's firing alright, but I don't think it's right. This back plug over here looked like it might have been alright, but this front one was just going brrr, and more like a buzzer than a, you know, this thing cranking over, it should fire a couple times a second. Then it's probably firing 30 times a second. So something's wrong, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to go back to that old flywheel over there. But for now, I'm still trying to get this motor deal sorted out. Get my motor mounts in right. Yeah, I went through and Loctited everything good and everything, so. Another thing, VMAX mechanic out there probably laughed his ass off, saying, be sure you put the big holes in the back. Well, I moved the jack, wound up with the same thing. Motor just twisted to the right. I guess I probably have to put it down here and get a bolt in it. Yikes. And maybe a bolt will hold this edge down here. Yikes. Whole thing went forward. There we go. I can't get the big one in there, but I can just stick a screwdriver or something in it for now. And try jacking it again, see if it rotates. Oh yeah, motor twisted back my way. That's about the maximum. Let's see if I cleared that motor mount. Yep, cleared it good. Comes right out, little hole. I don't know what I did with my other big one. Oh, there it is. There, that's the big one there. And it's kind of messed up, so I'm going to clean it a little, shoot a tad of paint on it before I do anything else. There we go. Just whack it with a little acrylic enamel. And probably put it in carefully right now. I'm not too concerned with messing up the paint because it's going to be all hidden behind a bracket anyway. Well, that went much better. I got these big ones in back here, and everything lined up real good. I still haven't put my cross member in, but now I'm gonna see if I can show you here what was going on. I don't know how I can do this. I guess I can hit the starter with my elbow maybe. These things have a stringy fire. They don't look right. Don't know what it is. Might be plugs, because the coil did run before. I don't think a flywheel would cause a weird firing like that. Well, here's the front with new plugs. One of them looks like it's firing pretty good. The right one. Could be the left one's not even grounded. Alright, I put new plugs in it. Just going to spray a little brake cleaner down in here. If the timing is right, it should start. We'll see. Ran. I couldn't really tell anything about how well it ran. But try it again, maybe I can hear something. Yeah, backfiring through the carburetors. Of course, I don't mean anything with this setup here. So I'm going to assume that this these two flywheels are the same. I gotta pull this cover off and put a good gasket on it anyway. You can see it's dripping out of the transmission and out of the case there. So, but I think it's alright. I was looking on the other flywheel and there were a lot of little single ridges around it. Like this just got, I don't know, kind of two big ones. And the other one looked like it had a little ridge about every 15 or 20 degrees, and this just got two big, one on each side here. They're not 180 from each other. Yeah, maybe they are. Could be that the other one worked perfectly well just like it is. Kind of hate to bolt it all back together and then have to pull it apart again to change this flywheel. I'll try to inspect that one. I got to put a gasket on it anyway, so I'll take my time and compare these two flywheels, see what's happening. But anyway, it fired up on brake cleaner, so I assume that probably be good. I gotta put the whole motorcycle back together anyway. Of course, no mufflers or anything is not the way to test anything. Anyway, it's Easter Sunday. A friend of mine invited me over for some eats. Just try to do a little here. I think I'll just pull this cover off for right now and inspect it. See if I can determine, and if I can't, no big deal. I'm going to put that cover back on anyway and put a good gasket on it. I bought a new gasket, so I'll just glue it on the cover side this time so I don't have to cut it apart. Now here's the old flywheel. You can see it's got a boss on it there about 3-4 inches long. There's two of them. They're directly across from the other. And you can see this one's got, I don't know, it looks like about 8 little ones. You know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch long. So that's probably why the spark looked weird, because instead of this thing firing, you know, once every revolution, or at the most twice, these little bosses here was probably firing it, you know, 6 times. I don't know how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, probably 8. And that's what it looked like it was doing, firing about 8 times as much as it needed to. So no use crying about it. Just get this thing off of here and put this other flywheel on and be finished. Yeah, I dug this up out of my semi-trash. It's been laying out in the water, rusted it up. I took it in there on the lathe and cleaned it. Now I got a push on this. By the way, there was some kind of a little wire thing that was in this bolt. Looked like some kind of a wiper or something for oil down inside that crankshaft. Not sure what that is. Anyway, this looks like a 60-degree taper, which is pretty standard. And so I'm going to make like a little acorn to fit down in here, so it'll fit the end of this, and then I'll turn a 60-degree taper on it so it'll fit here, and clean this up and oil it good so it'll slide. And maybe I can get this flywheel off for now. Well, I found this old adapter, I mean a steering wheel, or not a steering wheel, but a harmonic dampener puller, and I machined a piece out of here. It was all screwed up. I couldn't do it. It was just starting to bend the thing here, so I went down and got a new one. This one here is a fine thread bolt. I've got some good shoulder bolts. It was just bending the washers and chewing it up. So this will be my first effort. I'll put this on it, and if I don't get any results, I'm going to have to get an impact driver, because you know, trying to hit this thing with big wrenches and stuff like this is not really the best way to do it. But I think this fine threaded thing ought to work. Well, that setup looks a lot better, and it had metric bolts in it. Got a bunch more stuff here that I'm not going to need. So now I need to set it up where it locks again and just see if I can. I'm just going to try it with a hammer on this wrench for right now and see if I got any better results, and press on. Yeah, it worked like a champ. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Yeah, there's the end of my wrench. It's just coming on off. Oops, this don't look right here. Something looks a little fishy there. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it. But the fine threaded, of course, the new one, that old rusty one wasn't much good. So for 20 bucks, This one will probably give me lots of use. Well, no, it didn't work. It stripped about that much of the threads off. So I just took it in there in a lathe and cut it down. So hopefully I can get more threads into this thing. Need to have it threaded all the way through so it'll have a little power. I'll set it up and see what I got. Well, here's the setup. I got like a foot long ratchet in there and another 10-inch extension. I've got it locked and it's turning. Of course, I'm prying down. Oops. Flip my motor over. One-handed deal again. But it's turning, but I think it's bending that puller there. I don't see anything moving. I've got about 3 or 4 threads all the way through, so I just keep putting some more pressure on it, whacking it with a hammer. There ain't no way that it could be held in there with anything else. Just have to keep working on it. I got a couple more turns, but I'm looking here, it looks like these little bolts are just bending. I guess I could go get some grade 8 bolts. But this is pretty serious pretty serious pressure here to try to get a flywheel off. It shouldn't be that hard. Anyway, I got to take it apart, try to figure out how to get some good bolts in there. I couldn't find any grade 8 bolts, but I put a bunch of washers on here. I'm just turning this with my hand. It looks like it's going in pretty good. Something's giving. Don't know what. I'm watching right here on my nut. It don't really look like it's doing anything. Looks like it might possibly be bending that this thing again. I'm not sure what's going on. I could just machine a big piece of flat steel. Put in there to keep it from bending. Might be able to take that old rusty thing there and flip it around and put on there to double its strength. I don't know. I hope I'm not pulling anything out of here. Anyway, I'm going to continue on with 2 hands and see what happens. Yeah, I put double plates. I bored the old one out so the bolt would go through it, and I'm going to heat it this time, hopefully. Hopefully I'll be able to get that whole section there hot. It's going to take a while with this little torch. But I'm just going to try to heat it up. My nuts are kind of tweaking already. I've got a little pressure on it, not much. So I'm just going to continue to heat it and turn it until I get it all hot, and then put more pressure on it again and see what happens. Maybe this will work. Well, something snapped and looked like it got loose. I can't tell if I just rip something apart or actually the flywheel's coming out. Yeah, I think I just stripped the puller. Yeah, that flywheel hadn't moved. I think I just stripped my puller. Yeah, I'm kind of at my wit's end here. Yep, that's what happened. Just stripped the threads on the puller bolt. I don't know what to do. That thing ain't even wiggled. I don't think. Usually when they break loose, they come off very easy. Well, there's another kind of puller that hooks around behind the edges of the flywheel. The 3-puller bolt there. But that's not as good as the way I had it. I don't know what to do. I could turn this thing in the lathe and move it to where I got good threads, but this thing's kind of stripped too. I don't think that'll do me much good to get new threads on this, because those were good threads where it was at. A 1/4 of an inch into the threads. So don't know, I need something pretty good to do this with. I don't have any tools. And I looked on eBay, a new flywheel was like $179. And if I have to buy a $100 puller, I guess that's what I have to do. I could probably make something on the lathe. Big thick piece of steel instead of this crappy stuff. Drill it. Thread a bolt into it. I could probably thread it for this bolt. Just trim it down. But anyway, this is a lot more work than I first thought. I made myself crazy trying to get that thing off. I haven't even loosened this one up yet. I'm just assuming that it won't work. I don't know for sure if it will or not. But there are some new CDI igniters for this thing, a couple $100. for the 97 motor, and it looks like they're kind of using the same coils and stuff. Yeah, I may be able to get a 97 igniter, and you know, that's like $100, and try that, see what happens if it don't run. But I'm just killing time fooling around with this thing, and I should be getting the motorcycle back together. This is something I could work on later, but I got a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's just too frustrating playing with that igniter. So I'm just gonna scratch that for now. I'll put it all back together, and carburetors and everything, and mufflers, and just see if it will run with what I got. I'm gonna assume that it's all good, so I'm just gonna clean up this case here. I painted it and stuff, had it on once, but we'll put a new gasket on it and stick it on the motor and just button up this motor.